Good day, everyone. Welcome or welcome back to our next Global Career Fair session. Unlock your path to be an Amazon SDE. My name is Kendall, and whether this is your first time joining or you were joining us yesterday or this morning, thank you for being here. In this session, we are lucky to have David from Amazon's recruitment team with us, where he will discuss what it takes to navigate the SDE in the hiring process. So it's a great opportunity for you all to gain insights straight from the individual who understands what it takes to succeed. Why not say hello to David soon? But let's put it in the chat so you know where the chat is. David loves questions. He'll be taking them near the end. Where are you guys joining from? If you can enter that in the chat, then you know where it is and how to use it for the end of this session. Let's see the global audience. Perfect. Always good to see a diverse group joining us. And with that, I'll hand the global audience over to David to take it forward.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kendall. I'm so happy to be here and with you all, and happy to give you some insights into what it takes to kind of unlock your path to becoming an Amazon software development engineer. So moving on, just to kind of start off with a quick little introduction from myself. My name is David. My pronouns are he, him, and I work as a software development engineer recruiter with the Amazon University Talent Acquisition team. And so a lot of my role involves kind of engaging with candidates a lot, looking at all your profiles and hopefully connecting you to great opportunities at Amazon. A bit about my journey at Amazon. I did join almost 5 years ago now. So started off in November 2020, initially in a customer service position in a delivery station in Glasgow. From there, kind of moved into team leadership before stepping into recruitment in January of 2022, and I've been here ever since. So I'm based in the Edinburgh office, and I think like what I kind of get most out of my journey is at Amazon, regardless of what team, what kind of background you come from, you're very much encouraged to kind of take your own path and kind of look out for opportunities that are interested to you, and we're very much empowered to do that here. So that's just a bit about myself. Great to see where you're all joining in from. I know a part of our kind of discussion will be about our kind of global opportunities. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of connect you with opportunities that are in the best location for you as well. So moving on to our agenda for today, the main kind of focal point will obviously be our kind of software development engineer positions, but we will have some kind of general discussion of like Amazon in general, and talking about our kind of focus point of customer centricity, how we build the future every day at Amazon, and how we offer those kind of global opportunities for students like yourselves. And then we will kind of go into our leadership principles as well, looking into the software development engineer role specifically, the kind of role requirements, the key responsibilities, and your kind of eligibility criteria there, before moving into our recruitment process, just to give you a quick overview of what that looks like, and then diving into some kind of tips that you can really take away from today. So whether that be for your CV, or kind of if you are going through interviews at the moment, what kind of tips you can take to apply them. So we'll discuss about obviously the Amazon interview specifically, before then obviously going into the STAR method and wrapping up at the end. So regardless of whether you're going through the process for Amazon at the moment or for other companies, and we're hoping at the end you'll be able to take some skills away that will be transferable into whatever pathway that you are going down at the moment. Perfect. So moving on now to our kind of customer centricity. So everything at Amazon that you will hear about, we are very much obsessed with our customers, and everything, every decision that we take, every kind of innovation that we do is on behalf of the customers to kind of make their lives easier. And this is a kind of model that was built by our kind of our former CEO and founder Jeff Bezos. The idea was constructed on napkin, and it remains a living, breathing part of Amazon today. So we're very much built on that concept of a virtuous cycle focused on the customer. It's often called like the Amazon flywheel, and essentially it's a focus of kind of low prices, better customer experiences, more traffic, and increased selection, which in turn drives growth and lower costs. And this kind of main cycle is all about kind of rejecting the standard kind of product driven approach, but really starting from the customer and working backwards from them. So understanding what the customer needs and how we can kind of fulfill that with products, with technology, or anything like that. And this is one of our kind of core cultural and strategic principles still today. In terms of just a bit of our background as well, like from the day that our like Jeff Bezos started selling books out of his garage in 1995 until now, every day is day one at Amazon. So this is another huge cultural pillar for us. So even though we're quite a big organization, we want to kind of have that startup mentality of every day is day one. There's always an opportunity for change, to think about things differently, and kind of make change quickly and be more responsive as well. So, with more than 500,000 Amazonians bringing their voice, ideas, and ambitions daily, we're always looking for people to get on board and build the future with us. As mentioned, you will hear that concept of day one a lot at Amazon, and that's because we see that every day is an opportunity to challenge what's possible and learn something new, whether it be new ideas, new products, or new technologies to delight our customers. So we are always striving to raise that bar for our customers, surprising, delighting, and empowering them in ways that they've never seen before. And obviously, our kind of customer base at Amazon is also quite wide in terms of like consumers, but also kind of business to business customers. So whether they are kind of buying, selling, creating content, or running a business, the work that we do every day here at Amazon really maximizes their success and helps to make things easier for them. So all the kind of projects that you would be involved in when working at Amazon will be very kind of global impact, a lot like affecting millions of customers daily. So it's a very exciting place to be for sure. Moving onwards now, as I said, great to see all the diversity of location within the chat. And we always have this kind of principle that to be our most customer-centric company, we need to be where our customers are. And for that, we do hire students in more than 40 countries around the world and to more than 100 roles and across all business teams. Today, obviously, our focus will be on software development engineers particularly, but we do have positions available in support engineering for product managers, operations managers, applied scientists, vendor managers, and financial analysts. So whatever it is that you're looking to get into, the chances are that we will have an opportunity here for you. So definitely do explore our kind of jobs page to learn more about that further. Perfect. If you're kind of on the call, you're interested in Amazon, or if you've kind of looked into us before, you will probably have heard of what we call our leadership principles. So what are the Amazon leadership principles? Well, they are a set of 16 guiding values that shape how we work, how we make decisions, and how we develop our people here. So from customer obsession to deliver results, they're not just kind of concepts that we have like hanging on a wall. They are a framework that we use every single day. So every decision we make, we think about what implications that they have on each of these leadership principles. And it's always a source of kind of internal debate when some Amazonians might index higher on other leadership principles. It's always a good way to kind of benchmark and just make sure that you're kind of meeting the middle so that we are meeting all of our customers' needs. And why do the principles matter? They obviously, we hire a lot of people, so over 1 million Amazonians is a lot. So they create a common language across our global workforce. And they also guide every major decision we make, from launching new projects to hiring talent just like yourselves. And we evaluate every candidate against these principles during interview. So we will dive deeper a bit later into the kind of interview process, but a lot of the kind of makeup of our behavioral interviews is all about our leadership principles and trying to kind of learn more about you and understanding that you really embody these leadership principles, as they're such a huge part of being an Amazonian. I think as well, I've touched on it a bit a bit before in terms of like internal debate, but what makes these leadership principles really special is how they work together. So, for example, we might use kind of think big to develop your more kind of blue sky ambitious ideas. We might use kind of dive deep to understand the details of kind of implementing these ideas. And then we might also implement bias for action, which is all about moving quickly without having perfect information. And so, with these kind of leadership principles in tandem, we're really able to make the best decisions with the most information that we have, and also being super responsive to the customer and making sure that we're implementing them in a good timescale. For you guys as kind of students, understanding these principles offers like two benefits. So as we're hoping out this presentation that regardless of what path you go down, whether it's applying for Amazon or elsewhere, that you're going to get kind of transferable skills that you can use. So that's something that our leadership principles offer as well. So they have those kind of transferable skills that are going to be valued in any workplace wherever you go. Like we always say, who wouldn't want employees that are thinking about delivering results and earning trust in everything that they do? And secondly, they can help you to determine if Amazon's culture aligns with your own kind of values and working styles. So as mentioned, some Amazonians will index higher than others. Personally, I'm super focused on customer obsession. So everyone has a very kind of a strong opinion of how these leadership principles align with their own identity, and that kind of makes for kind of interesting decision making as well. So yeah, if we obviously don't have time to kind of go into all 16 leadership principles at the moment, but if you are interested, do definitely encourage you to explore these principles further on our careers website, and especially if you're going through interviews, understanding what principles resonate with you, and you might kind of find out something about where you'll kind of thrive professionally with that as well. Perfect. So looking a bit more deeper into the software development engineer role specifically. So our software development engineer interns and graduates at Amazon work on real world projects, and they directly impact millions of customers worldwide. So again, all of the impact that you have here is super exciting. So they'll collaborate with experienced engineers to design, develop, and deploy scalable software solutions across various teams in Amazon and products. And their typical responsibilities would include writing production level code, participating in code reviews, debugging complex systems, and contributing to technical design discussions. They'll get hands on experience with Amazon's cutting edge technologies and learn to operate in an environment that emphasizes ownership, innovation, and high engineering standards. And this role provides really valuable exposure to Amazon's engineering practices, our kind of agile working methodologies, and of course, the leadership principles as well. So the key responsibilities that you're looking at with the SDE position would be you have to kind of have an idea or the ability to design and code the right solutions, starting with broadly defined and sometimes ambiguous problems. So we want to see that you can work with ambiguity, that you can deal with it, you can ask the right questions to identify the kind of causes of problems to build a path towards kind of solving that problem. Also, you should be kind of driving best practices and engineering excellence. So we're looking for people who not only kind of follow established coding practices, but that also actively contribute towards improving them, and in some cases challenge them as well and thinking outside the box, thinking of new ways to do things. And you should be able to write clean, maintainable code that stays relevant with industry practices as well. Also, you should be able to kind of work with other team members to develop the architecture and design of new and current systems. So we want someone who is collaborative, that can actively participate in technical discussions and contribute to the decision making from day one. And although if you're kind of coming in a more junior position, like as a student, make sure that you are kind of feeling as comfortable proposing solutions and considering feedback from other team members. People from a range of kind of experience will be able to provide something different to the table. So definitely make sure that you're feeling kind of confident to voice your opinions and your feedback from day one as well. And as mentioned, we work in an agile environment here at Amazon to deliver high quality software. So we have regular team check-ins to ensure that everyone's on track. You get to experience working on team code reviews. So again, collaborating and learning from your peers, and also testing your code, working with others to make sure the software that we build is reliable and that it's ready for our millions of customers to use worldwide. In terms of kind of what we look for in a candidate, so moving a bit more into kind of eligibility criteria here, we would be looking for candidates who have enrolled or have completed a degree in computer science and engineering or any related STEM field. You should have a knowledge of computer science fundamentals, and you should be able to effectively articulate technical challenges and solutions and work through kind of those problems. Also, those strong communication skills as well. In terms of the role requirements, as mentioned, we will be hiring for internships and also for graduate positions. So if you are going for an internship position, you should be currently a penultimate year student or graduating in 2027. And if you're interested in a graduate position, then you should have graduated within the last 24 months in order to be eligible for that as well. I see someone in the chat asking about business intelligence analysts. And we do hire for kind of business intelligence engineers at the moment. We do have those kind of posted on our Amazon.jobs page. So do feel free to kind of check on there, but we won't be diving deeper into that role in this particular presentation, I'm afraid. Perfect. So moving onwards now, just to give you an idea of our recruitment process to lay out in kind of simple steps. We understand that you are probably applying for so many different roles at the moment. It's a very busy time for students and trying to secure your internships and your graduate positions. So we want to make sure that we are making this process as quick and painless as possible, that it's easy to get through and that you're getting the answers that you need as soon as possible. So we will start with like a quick kind of application. There's not going to be any kind of long form questions or anything like that. We just want to see your CV. And there will be some short kind of eligibility questions as well that you should answer, just to, so we can understand a bit more about what you're looking for in a position at Amazon. You'll then move on to, if you're eligible for the position, you'll move on to the online assessment. The online assessment will generally test your technical ability and also that kind of behavioral side as well. So asking you about kind of maybe how you would respond to certain situations in a work environment, and just understand a bit more about your rationale or how you would approach decision making. If you are successful at the online assessment, you would then receive an invite to interview. And we just have kind of one final interview stage. It could be inclusive of 2 to 4 virtual interviews, depending on the position that you are going for. And again, there will be a technical element and also behavioral side to that. We'll dive into each of those kind of elements later as well. And then finally, once you've done the interviews, we will endeavor to get back to you within 5 business days. So again, we want to make sure that we are kind of making the best use of your time, and we understand you're applying for lots of things. So we want to make sure we get back to you within 5 business days with your decision so that you can take the next steps accordingly. Perfect. So moving onwards now, let's just kind of dive a little bit deeper into each of the areas of the application and try and give you guys some tips on how you can ace each of these. So when crafting your CV for Amazon internships and graduate roles, focus on showcasing your achievements with measurable results rather than just listing responsibilities. So if you've worked on projects or you've got any data points, make sure that you're including those. Highlight specific examples of your kind of impact from university projects, work experience, or extracurricular activities that demonstrate your leadership, your ownership, and your problem solving abilities. And these are all qualities that align with Amazon's leadership principles, of course. So make sure that even if you don't have any kind of work experience, that is completely fine. All of the kind of work that you've been doing at university, whether it be through extracurriculars, whether it be through kind of societies or anything like that, that's all super impactful as well. So make sure that you're including that on your CV. Include your relevant technical skills and projects, but don't forget to highlight those soft skills as well, like teamwork and communication. Make sure that you are keeping your CV clear, concise, and well structured. And ideally, we want to keep it to 1 to 2 pages, and pretty simple for formatting as well is always the best. Again, we absolutely love data here at Amazon. So if there's anything that you can do to quantify your achievements, that's going to be super impactful as well. So for example, if you have led a team, you're specifying that you led a team of 5 students to deliver a project that reduced process time by 30%. So using those kind of numerical data points to highlight and highlight your impact as well is super strong. Make sure that you proofread your CV as well carefully to ensure that there are no spelling or formatting errors. And remember that your CV is often your first impression with Amazon recruiters. So make it count by tailoring it to the specific role that you're applying for. And again, if you've had any kind of involvement in like hackathons, any kind of maths awards or anything like that, all of those achievements are super beneficial to add to your CV. So just running through the slide as well really quickly here on some points. This is just a kind of do's and don'ts almost. So make sure that on your CV you're including your name, your contact details, your education. We want to see what degree you're studying, the university that you are studying at, and also when you are expecting to graduate, and you can just include the year for that. If you've got any previous experience with internships, volunteering, school projects, educational achievements in general, and hobbies that showcase your skills, make sure that they're on there. Any technical skills, we want to include those also. So make sure you've got your programming languages, any kind of language skills also, including your native language. Make sure that that's on there. As I said, we're a global company, so that's always a great benefit if you've got those additional language skills. And also, if you've got a kind of project portfolio as well, one of our leadership principles is learn and be curious, which is all about kind of going outside your immediate area of responsibility to learn something new. So, if you've got evidence of external projects that you have maybe undertaken outside of university and you've got a portfolio of that, such as GitHub, make sure that you're including that on your CV as well. And again, I've mentioned previously, but any involvement with hackathons, societies, extracurriculars as well. Ideally, we don't want to see spelling and grammar mistakes. As mentioned, the application is just a quick CV submission and the eligibility questions, so we don't need any cover letter. You don't need to include any personal information such as age, ethnicity, marital status, etc. That won't have any place in like our recruitment process, so you can just leave that out. And also any irrelevant information, try and eliminate that as well. So with the CV, less is more. Make sure that every word counts and that you are kind of communicating to us your achievements with every word that you're including on your CV. Perfect. So moving onwards now to the kind of interviews in general, and we'll just start generally with kind of Amazon interviews in a general sense first before moving on to technical and behavioral parts. So, firstly, before even kind of thinking about your examples and things like that, make sure that you are thoroughly reviewing the job description for the role that you are interviewing for. Make sure that you understand the key requirements and responsibilities, and that will just help you to kind of align your experiences with what the role is looking for and what the needs of the role are. When discussing your accomplishments, be ready to talk about them in detail. So, again, making sure that every word counts and that you are kind of really demonstrating the impact with how you are walking us through those accomplishments. And think about your most impactful achievements. So, those ones that you can maybe kind of bring data to the front to measure your impact, make sure that you're using those really strong examples. For technical roles, make sure that you're brushing up on your kind of computer science fundamentals and coding and all that kind of stuff. So this could mean reviewing like data structures and algorithms or specific technologies that are mentioned in your job description. So the job description really will be like your kind of source of truth of what's expected from your kind of interview. So make sure that you really study that and that you're prepared for everything that's highlighted in that job description. Have a compelling answer for why you want this specific role and why Amazon. So we want to see your genuine interest and understanding of the business as well. So all the Amazonians that work here are super passionate about their jobs. So it's great to show that you've got that as well. And for behavioral questions, make sure that you're structuring your answers using the STAR method. So talking us through the situation, task, action, and result. And that will help you to tell clear, concise stories. And we will go into the STAR method in more detail later on in the presentation as well. And always include specific numbers and metrics in your examples. So saying I improved a process, make sure that you're saying you improved process efficiency by 40%, for example, to really show that impact as well. Study Amazon's leadership principles. So the leadership principles, as mentioned, they are at the heart of absolutely everything that we do here at Amazon. So make sure that you are ready to demonstrate how you've shown these principles in your experiences as well. And also expect follow-up questions. So our interviewers will often dig deeper into your examples to understand your thought process and the reason why you're making the decisions that you are making. So be ready to speak to that as well and answer those follow-up questions. And also make sure that you're practicing your answers out loud. So particularly for the behavioral part of the interview, when you're kind of telling these stories and you're expected to kind of talk for maybe about 3 to 5 minutes per example that you're providing, it can be a bit of a long time to be talking when you're answering these questions. So just by practicing your answers out loud, it helps you to sound a bit more natural, and you'll be able to come across more confident during the interview as well as a result of that. And finally, again, in the same light as showcasing like your interest and your motivation for Amazon specifically, make sure that you prepare thoughtful questions for your interviewer about the team, the role that they're doing, or Amazon's culture in general. And this will just showcase your genuine interest and engagement for the position. As I said, the Amazonians that you'll be meeting at the interview stage are super passionate about their roles, and a lot of the products that we kind of work on, as mentioned, they're impacting millions of customers globally, and they're really interesting products. So everyone's super passionate and ready to answer those questions. So make sure that you're kind of using that as an example, although that it's an interview for kind of Amazon to find out a bit more about you as a person. Make sure that you're using this kind of Q&A part of your interview to understand a bit more about us. Kind of flip the script to make sure that you're interviewing us and also making sure that Amazon is a good fit for you and what you're looking for in a career. Cool. So moving onwards now that we've got a bit of an idea of how the interviews look generally, let's have a look more specifically at the kind of technical questions. So in terms of our kind of technical interviews, these are designed to assess your kind of understanding of fundamental concepts. It's not just about knowing the right answer, but demonstrating how you think through technical problems and the reasoning behind why you're choosing to kind of code in a particular way. So understanding these fundamentals is crucial. Make sure that you've got a grasp of core computer science concepts. So we're looking at data structures and algorithms and system design principles, and review your coursework and brush up on areas where you might need some refreshing. You should be prepared to kind of tackle questions across various technical domains. So being ready to discuss like networking concepts, storage solutions, security best practices, database design and optimization and infrastructure components, and of course coding problems as well. The types of questions that you can face will likely be the kind of main ones will be practical tasks. So you'll work on resolving a problem that would be like that you're likely to face in the working environment at Amazon. And for these, you will have to kind of physically get on like a live code platform and kind of write out code with your interviewer. So for those kind of practical questions, make sure that you're practicing writing clean, efficient code, and be ready to talk us through your reasoning, and your approach. There can also be kind of theoretical questions to kind of test your general knowledge on a particular subject. And these would just be more kind of verbal answers that wouldn't require much coding. But the bulk of your technical interview will be made up of these practical tasks. As mentioned, it's really important that you understand the fundamentals, that you're comfortable coding back to basics with pen and paper. And the reason for that is the platform that we use for coding interviews is called Live Code. It's a very kind of basic notepad platform. So you won't have to kind of run the code which you create, but you can just kind of type it up on there, you can format it. So it's good to be comfortable coding back to basics without use of an IDE or anything like that. And also, as I said, exercising that strong communication, providing the reasoning behind your actions. And one of the most important skills that you can show during your technical interviews is asking clarifying questions. So when you're faced with the problem, don't rush into solving the problem without fully understanding it. So make sure that you're asking about constraints, edge cases, scale requirements, or any assumptions that you should make before tackling the problem. And that shows that you are kind of thoughtfully analyzing the problem, that you're thinking it through, and that's going to ultimately help you to provide better solutions. And again, interviewers want to kind of help you through it, so they're able to kind of give you the tips that you need to solve the problem in the most optimal way. And they want to understand your thought process and what you're kind of thinking about when you solve these problems. So again, again, make sure that you are reasoning as you work through the technical challenges. So with the technical part, you'll kind of get to understand that coding is such a huge part of it, but also the communication side is super key. So we really want to understand that it's not just like an interview where it's a one-sided, you're being asked questions, but really, again, flipping the script, thinking about that interview as more of a two-way conversation, that you're kind of working with a peer in a working environment. And that's going to help you get the most out of it. It's going to bring the best kind of out of you as well, because you'll be able to be more comfortable and answer those problems and create those solutions in the best way that you can. But also it's showcasing that you can ask the right questions, that you're transparent with like your thought process, and it'll be a better experience for everyone as a result. Moving onwards now, the second part of your kind of interview will be the behavioural side. With this part, this will not be specific to technical roles. So whatever kind of position that you go for at Amazon, whether it be in one of our non-tech positions, you will be asked these kind of behavioural questions about like the leadership principles as well. So just to give you a bit more of an insight into these also. The behavioral questions will assess your ability to deal with challenges and kind of talk us through how you overcome those challenges. The interviewer will ask you a question and you want to walk them through an example from university experience, internships, extracurriculars, etc. And your interviewer will listen to your answers and look for alignment to our leadership principles. So the key to success in our behavioral interviews really lies within understanding the Amazon leadership principles and preparing specific examples that demonstrate them in action. So as mentioned, like if you take one thing away, you'll probably take away that the leadership principles really guide everything that we do at Amazon. And as a result, they are very central to our interview process, as well as it's such a big kind of decision-making process, you know. So make sure when you're thinking about your examples that you are starting by reflecting on your experiences from university projects, internships, part-time work, or extracurriculars. Think about the challenges that you've faced, the problems that you've solved, and the situations where you have demonstrated leadership, and structure your examples using specific details and measurable results. So instead of, as I mentioned earlier, make sure that you're including that data. So instead of you led a team project, make sure that you're letting us know you led a team of 5 students or whatever it may be, bringing in those data to let us understand your impact. And when answering your questions, be concise but also thorough. So focus on your individual contributions and acknowledge also the team efforts, and be prepared to discuss both successes and failures. So if there's like an example that you have seen where maybe it's not kind of panned out the way that you wanted, if you have kind of learned from that situation, it's super useful as well. So we value that you can learn from your mistakes, and that you're able to make changes accordingly to kind of change the outcome in the future as well. A lot of times that we'll kind of see when what candidates are talking about, like some of the common themes will be times that you've taken ownership, where you've used data to make decisions, you've shown customer obsession, or that you've demonstrated bias for action. So you've been able to make a decision quickly with limited information at hand. Make sure that you have multiple examples ready. You might need to share different stories for different questions, so it's good to have a good kind of plethora of different examples to use there. And also practice articulating your experiences clearly and confidently. So thinking about practicing it aloud, so that you're really kind of natural whenever you're delivering those stories, and you'll be delivering them in the most engaging way. Again, it's not just about like what you achieved, but how you achieved it. So make sure that you're very kind of apt with talking us through the steps, what action that you had to take in order to get to the end of that problem. And by really kind of going into detail and outlining those steps, that will be the best way. Again, your interviewer may ask those follow-up questions. If they do, it's not that you're not giving enough information, but it's just that they might want to see a bit more, or they might be asking about a particular leadership principle and they want to focus in on that a bit more, and generally just get more data from your answers as well. And again, be ready to explain, like in that moment, what you were thinking about before you take the steps that you did. So, explaining your thought process and the things that kind of led up to you ultimately making the decisions that you made. And that will be absolutely the best thing to do. And finally, be authentic in your responses. So, we want to understand your kind of genuine experiences and how you approach challenges. And remember, preparation and practice are absolutely key to performing well in our behavioral interviews. With like the behavioral side of the interviews, obviously, there's so many leadership principles to choose from. So, like, if I kind of go back to this slide really quickly, just with our 16 leadership principles, just thinking about what ones of these are going to be more kind of applicable for students as well. So of course, if you can see just now, like if for a student audience, for example, like learn and be curious will be something that's super important. So be prepared to kind of answer to those examples. If you're kind of thinking about hiring and develop the best, maybe like you wouldn't have so much management experience, so maybe that's less likely to come up. So we will be asking questions that are kind of tailored to like a student audience. So have a think about that when you're thinking about what leadership principles that you will be preparing for as well. And lastly, before we move on to the STAR method, you can see like an example behavioral question that we have just at the bottom there. So you can see it's very much tell me about a time when style questions. So we want to see that you are kind of telling us a story. So in this case, tell me about a time when you took on something significant outside of your area of responsibility. Why was it important and what was the outcome? So we can see from this question that it's a question on ownership. So it's all about doing something outside your immediate area of kind of responsibility, which would be probably kind of ownership and learn and be curious, which leads to another point on don't try and work out what leadership principle you're being asked about. Make sure that you are just answering the question the interviewer asks you. Sometimes if you're trying to kind of identify this as a question about ownership, then you tailor your example to that when it might be about learn and be curious. So you've kind of missed the mark there on that. Just make sure that if you are answering the question that you are being asked, then you're probably going to highlight the behaviors that are expected of that leadership principle. So just focus on answering the question rather than working out what leadership principle you are being asked about. Perfect. And so that leads us on just to the last slide here now for content that we've got prepared. But in terms of now that we've got an idea of what kind of questions that we might be asked and how the behavioural interview looks, let's see what the best way is to kind of tackle those questions and make sure that you are providing the most data for your answers for our interviews as well. And the way to do that is through the STAR method. So the STAR method is a powerful technique for structuring your interview responses at Amazon. STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. And by kind of structuring your examples around the STAR method, it's going to help you to tell clear, compelling stories about your experiences. So let's have a dig deeper into the method and see what, like, let's kind of break it down. So the situation will be set in the scene, and that will be by describing the kind of specific challenge that you faced and the complexities of that challenge. So a tip there would be that some examples that you can draw from, it doesn't need to all be from work experience if you don't have it. So make sure that you're involved in school projects, volunteer activities, extracurriculars as well. And then moving on to task, this is going to be getting specific about the goal that you were working towards with that challenge. So explaining what you needed to achieve or what challenge that you faced. And a tip here would be talking about kind of deadlines or quantify what the delivery timeline was and your role in that. And then moving on to arguably the most important part of the STAR method is the action, and this is describing actually what you did. So detailing the specific steps that you took to address the task and being clear about your personal contribution. Make sure that the kind of pro tip here is be careful that you don't describe what the team or the group did when talking about a project. Let us know what you did. So although it's great to showcase that you have that kind of collaboration and that you've got really good teamwork, this ultimately is an opportunity for you to excel and kind of get the job and showcase that you're a leader. So rather than using those more collective terms, try and use kind of individualized statements. So making sure that it's clear that you were the one that led it. So using I statements rather than those collective statements as well. And the R is for result. So concluding with the outcome using specific metrics where possible. And don't be shy about taking credit for your behavior. So again, make sure that it's clear in this example that you were the leader. And also let us know, how did the event end? What did you accomplish? What did you learn? Was it a positive outcome? Was it maybe not an outcome that you wanted? But again, you learned something from the future. And when you faced a similar problem, you were able to implement those learnings to make things better. These are all really kind of great things to dig into. So make sure also when you're thinking about these examples, make sure that you're keeping them concise, but that you are detailed enough to kind of demonstrate your impact and that you are hitting every kind of heading of the STAR method. And practice using this method for kind of different scenarios. You'll likely use it kind of multiple times during your kind of Amazon interview. So just to kind of think as well here about kind of looking at the STAR method in action. For example, if you're talking about a situation, you could do during my final year project at university. Moving on to the task, you needed to lead a team of 4 to develop a mobile app within 8 weeks. Moving on to the action, you created a project timeline, organized twice weekly team meetings, and divided responsibilities based on team members' strengths. And then moving on to the result, you delivered the app 2 days early, achieved 95% user satisfaction in testing, and received the highest grade in your class. So that's just an idea of how you can use it. Make sure that you're preparing your examples with the STAR headings, as well as a lot of the times your interviewers will be waiting to kind of hit these points. And yeah, if you implement all these learnings, then I have no doubt that you will do really well in your interviews. So conscious that we are just kind of leading up to time now. So just to have a quick wrap up before we finish, thank you all so much for your attention. Today we've covered quite a journey from obviously Amazon's obsession with putting customers at the center of everything we do, to our leadership principles that guide every decision that we make. We've walked through how to make your CV stand out, and we've shared some insider tips on acing both the technical coding interviews and also those behavioral questions that kind of let us know how you embody our leadership principles. So in terms of next steps, our application portal for internship roles is open right now. So do feel free to check on amazon.jobs for all of our open opportunities. Graduate positions will probably be coming around November time to mid-November, so definitely also keep an eye on the portal for those opportunities as well. I've seen there are some questions in the chat as well, but we are leading up to time. We do have recruiters in like a virtual booth as well. So make sure that you come along to the virtual booth and speak to one of our recruiters if you've got any follow-up questions. The team are very much here to support your journey, whether that's through Amazon or whether you're looking down other routes. And if you take anything away from the presentation, hoping that it would be that you can showcase your customer-focused mindset and kind of everything that you submit throughout the recruitment process. You're preparing STAR examples that demonstrate our leadership principles in action. And in terms of the technical side, make sure that you're practicing coding problems daily. Leak Code and Hacker Rank are your best friends. And also, yeah, just super excited about the possibility of welcoming some of you as Amazonians. Thank you again so much for your attention, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, David and Amazon. I love it. Every day is an opportunity to challenge and learn something new.
Yes.
I hope you learn something new, all of you watching. On that note, we will break. We'll be back at 12 with Faring Pharmaceuticals. So thank you again, David. Thank you, Amazon. Thanks for all your participations on the other side of the screen. And see you back shortly for Faring Pharmaceutical.